Hello and welcome to this virtual webinar, where our topic for discussion today is how to improve customer onboarding. My name is Paul Roberts, and I'm the Vice President of EMEA at Bizagi, and I'm your host today. I'm joined by Darren Hart, the CIO of Alpha Cards. Darren will be discussing the transformation journey that Alpha Cards are embarking upon, and the reasons for doing this, the benefits that they have received from the program, the lessons learned, particularly from recent projects involving Bizagi, including new accounts, merchant setup programs, and the onboarding program. Darren will be available at the end of the session, if time allows, to answer questions. Before we start, let me just say a few words about Bizagi and who we are. Bizagi offers a digital business platform that has enabled the digital process automation programs of over 500 customers globally. Bizagi helps companies compete better in today's digital economy through creating new processes or re-engineering existing ones so that companies better meet the needs and expectations of customers and/or to overcome competitive pressures. We provide a platform that is agile. In other words, we can do things fast and show fast time to value. That is connected. We can utilize existing assets and systems. And that is engaging. So we provide contextualized, very highly contextualized information to the right people at the right time. And this allows companies to be proactive in the fast-changing business landscape that exists today. We are headquartered in the UK with operations in North America, Europe, and Latin America. You can see on the current slide a selection of our customers, and they represent a broad range of industries, and a large number of these companies are well-established businesses that are more keenly feeling the challenge from the digitally native competitor. And this is something that Darren will touch on today. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Darren to talk about Alpha Cards and the transformation story.
Okay, thank you very much, Paul. So I suspect not everybody has heard of Alpha Card. What Alpha Card actually is it's a joint venture between American Express and BNP Paribas Fortis in Belgium, and we're the sole issuer of American Express cards in the Belgium and Luxembourg markets. Until recently, we also used to own a company called BCC, Bank Card Corporation, which was Visa MasterCard, but we've recently sold that piece off and are now focusing purely on American Express in that market. So we have around about 300,000 customers, and they are split pretty much 50-50 between corporate and consumer, and we have 180 employees, all based in Belgium. So we're a small to medium-sized business. And as you can see on the slide, the American Express Platinum card is one of our main products. So now I want to talk a little bit about the digital transformation that we did to the onboarding process at Alpha Card fairly recently. Now, the situation we had before we started the actual digitalization process was we had around about 40 different application forms for our different product sets, which were all similar but subtly different, and were all managed using slightly different processes. There were lots of handoffs in the onboarding process, so different departments involved. There was lots of rekeying, lots of different possibilities for the actual pieces of paper to get lost. And it was very hard to monitor and track the progress of applications through the organization. And it basically took too long. It used to take, on average, about 12 days from the point we receive an application form to the point where the card actually was sent to the customer. And when we have competitors in the market now that are doing instant or 1 or 2 day fulfillment, that was no longer an acceptable place to be. And we had nothing really digital around onboarding at all. So that was the situation before we started the project. It was going to be very difficult to do in our environment because, as I said, time to onboard is very critical. We had pressure to deliver quickly because we were behind the market. A lot of our competitors have this kind of capability now to allow people to apply for their products through the internet and through online applications. We also had issues with some of our old systems. We have some systems that were developed in the 1980s that we still have to use today, which don't readily allow themselves to be integrated into a digital environment. And we needed to consolidate those 40 different application forms down from the 40 into one or two specific flows through the process. And we also had the issue of the business being separated into two at the same time. So we were selling off the Visa MasterCard piece. So they were all the factors that we were fighting with when we started this particular transformation journey. So in terms of how we approached this, we basically got together a joint business and IT team. We didn't do it as just an IT project. We had a group that was pulled together from the various parts of the business that were involved in the onboarding process, which included compliance, the new accounts team, and the various other support parts of the organization. And they all worked together to understand what the existing process was, where all of the different difficult points within the process were, and then to understand how to improve that and implement a solution to support it. Now, one of the key things that we did is we used Bazaar G as the main tool for managing the end-to-end process flow and for the digital piece of capturing the application form at the start. But we also used it in conjunction with some remote desktop integration tools to allow us to access our legacy environment, because we can't use traditional methods of connecting to those systems because they're just so old. We had to use the screens. So we used Bazaar G in conjunction with effectively screen scraping technology to enable us to automate and improve the end-to-end processes. And this helped us to improve the visibility of the data that was available to the process from the old systems. So why did we choose Bazaar G? Now, we have used Bazaar G within Alpha Card for about 2.5–3 years now. It was originally purchased to support a project that we did for compliance. It was around capturing KYC and UBO information for our customers that we didn't have historically. So it was a tool we'd already selected before this particular process, but we then thought we'd make use of its digital capability too. And the main reasons we selected Bizagi in the first place is we are a small to medium-sized business, so we can't afford a Rolls-Royce solution. Now, we were looking for something that was a good compromise between price and functionality. And when we found Bizagi, the functionality that it contains is up there with some of the leaders in the market, but it's price-wise was cheaper, so it suited our needs perfectly. And where it tends to fit in the Gartner Magic Quadrants is in the Challenger section, so the top left-hand corner. It's the only one that's in that space. So it just fitted our needs very well. And also, because it allowed us to work with the desktop automation tools alongside the tool, it was a very good fit to the architecture that we wanted to put in place. And also the support provided during the selection process was pretty good too. So overall, in terms of price versus functionality, it was the best choice in the market that we found at the time. And it's proved to be a good choice because it's worked very well for us on a number of projects, including this digital one. So in terms of where we've got to with the new account onboarding process, we now have automated the 40 application forms into one end-to-end flow. So all the application processes for all of the different products are now the same. So they flow in through the door from the web channel electronically, and they flow into a queue in Bizagi and are dealt with through the onboarding team and the various departments in the organization. There's automated handoffs between each of the teams now. So every step in the process is electronically handed off rather than manually handed off. There's no rekeying at all anymore. In some cases, previously, we had 4 or 5 different systems that needed the same information being entered. So the information flows in from the internet. There's no rekeying of any of that information at all, and it's then propagated at the right points in the process to the legacy systems using the desktop automation tool. So we've integrated the web channel directly. So the customer types in their information on a web page. They can use an automated ID card reader. So in Belgium, everybody has an ID card. So they can connect an ID card reader to their laptop or desktop. They can insert the card, and the details from that are sent with the application form automatically to Alpha Card, so it simplifies the whole KYC process. We don't have to do additional checks to make sure that the person we're talking to is the right person anymore. It's all done through an ID card. What we've also done is we have a partner product with Brussels Airlines for Miles and More, which is their reward scheme. And we sell that through the airport at Brussels. And so we've developed an iPad app that is used by the salespeople on the floor, and they will capture the information real time with the customer through the iPad, and then it's transmitted automatically into the Bizagi process from the iPad at the airport. So from a brand image perspective and from a sales perspective, it's a very good tool that we've now got as part of the end-to-end process too. And it's been very well received both by the salespeople and also by the potential customers. It gives a very positive image of the organization, because Amex is a premium brand, and having a premium way of selling that product is now something that has gone down very well with the customers, and we've seen quite a big uptake in new cards as a result of that. But the big things that's happened with the process is we've managed to reduce the processing time for each application from an average of about 48 minutes down to between 10 and 15 minutes for every application now. And Bizagi controls that whole end-to-end process from the point we receive the application all the way through to the point where we update the old legacy system to issue the card to the customer. So that whole process is now 15 minutes rather than 48, and is all integrated end-to-end for all 40 of the products. So it's been quite a successful transformation of that particular process. So the benefits, I've talked about some of these already. Transparency across the organization of digital is one of the key things that's come out of this. People have suddenly woken up and realized what the digital channel can do, because we're seeing operational efficiency improvements, we're seeing more cards through the door, and we're seeing better quality cards through the door as well because of the kind of services we're now offering. And it's also led to a reduction of about 40% in terms of headcount requirements in the onboarding team as well. So it's really allowed us to get some significant quantifiable operational benefits. And also now, what we didn't have before was good quality reporting. We can now report on the whole process. We can see where things are in the process. We can see how the agents are performing, how long it takes for all the steps to happen, and using that monitoring, we can refine and improve the process even further where there are still some minor pinch points. And it takes us now 2 days to fulfill a card, which is, I think, the fastest we can make it go, because our old legacy systems still have some batch overnight processes that at the moment we can't really change. So 2 days is the best we can possibly manage for this kind of an onboarding process, which puts us back in line with, and in some cases better than, other organizations in the same market, which was a big part of the point of this. And I think we have created a culture of innovation now within the organization, because people are starting to pick up on the digital channel. They're starting to think about how they could use digital more to enable them to improve the various parts of the business. So overall, it's been a very successful implementation that has delivered some quite significant benefits for the whole organization. But we're not stopping there. We've got lots more to do. This is the first stage on quite a long digital journey. We've taken one of our painful processes and we've digitalized that, but there's a lot of other things that the organization is keen to do for a number of reasons. One is that there are now lots of other digital payment methods in the market, so things like PayPal, peer-to-peer, just to name a couple of examples, that are challenging the traditional credit and debit and charge card model. And so we need to do something to start to address that. So this is one of the challenges that our digital strategy needs to start to look at. We also have, because of the kind of product it is, quite an old base of customers, because it's a premium product aimed at the more wealthy individuals with the high net worth and net income. But there's a younger market out there that we think we can start to attract with the right kind of digital capability. So we want to start to target that new group of consumers too. And we think digital is a way that we can attract them into the organization. And there is a huge expectation out there now. Everybody expects a financial services organization to have good quality consumer and merchant and also corporate online and digital capabilities to allow them to be able to service themselves. which today none of our services are 100% digital. We've obviously worked on the onboarding one, but in terms of online servicing, we don't have a lot yet. That's one of the things that we really need to address, and also quickly, because the market is still moving on. So they're the kinds of challenges that we're facing today. In terms of digital, what does the next stage mean for us? One of the things I've mentioned already is that it's hard to change our legacy systems. So we need some kind of a digital layer that allows us to access the services of those old systems in a way that we can expose through a digital solution. So we need to build an integration layer, so an enterprise service bus around our business to enable that to happen. One big cost that we have is statementing. So every customer today gets a paper statement every month, which costs quite a lot of money. So there's a customer service improvement because now most people like to receive their statements electronically. They don't like the paper so much. And also there's a big cost saving around that. So the next thing that we're going to be looking at alongside implementing the digital layer is to implement a solution for online statementing using Bizagi. And then the next step is mobile apps. Now, we've done some market research, and that's told us that most people today for financial services use their mobile phone as the main communication digital channel ahead of a website or the internet. So we're going to target mobile apps first, and we're going to look at consumer, corporate, and merchant services so that all of those different groups of customers can access our services digitally. So they're the areas that are important to us and mean something significant to our organization. So one of the questions I was asked to look at is, where do I recommend you start? So it's a big problem, and where we started was I asked these three questions to the team. I said, what's the moments of truth in our customer journey? Where are the points in the customer journey where we can really make a difference to that customer? And how can we speed up the way that we actually interact and deal with them? So that was one of the key things. And then opportunities to operate in a different way. An example of this was we used to have a manual handoff in the process between the onboarding team and the credit risk team to decide whether to actually approve the application and what limit to give them. So that was a manual handoff that used to take a day to sort out. But all the credit risk team did was run an algorithm to provide a value and a yes or a no decision as to whether or not that application should go ahead. So what we've done is we've eliminated that step altogether. We've included that step in the new accounts process. There's some automated functionality in Bizagi, and we've changed the way that we operate. So simple things like that take steps out of a process, make the way that the organization operates more efficient, and also ultimately leading to faster customer service and saving some money. And then the third one, which is where the strategy and all the pieces that I've just described came from, was how can we start to unlock competitive advantage in our industry. Now, the biggest one was a hygiene factor, was to sort out the onboarding, but the other things then we will start to use those to gain advantage on the competition and try to get ahead of them in terms of the kind of digital offerings that we have. So I was also asked to comment on 30 and 60 and 90 days into the overall project. What did we do and where were we at? So after 30 days into this, the first thing I think and the biggest thing is to get stakeholder buy-in as early as possible. That's one thing that is essential to a program like this. And a lot of organizations, from my experience, tend to think about it for too long. We just got on with it to get the program up and running as quickly as you can and start doing stuff. Start to move it forward. And we also, using Bizagi and also using our remote desktop automation tool, we did some proof of concept work, and we used that to educate the stakeholders and get them bought into the digital ideas as a whole. And we also did an awareness campaign. So we publicised the digital work that we were doing. We actually asked people for ideas, and we started to get people to think about digital as part of their normal daily cycle. So that was the first 30 days. So 60 days in, we started to build a digital competency group. There was a team of 4 people initially, which was joint business and IT, that were the ones that were the evangelists and the people that we were learning the digital skills for the organisation. And we also did quite a bit of work to align our digital strategy with the overall corporate strategy. So what direction were we going in as an organization, and how could we use digital to support that? So the roadmap that we have is based upon aligning it with the overall business strategy, and it's now a key theme within our overall corporate strategy. And a key one was deliver some quick wins, get something out there quickly. So the first thing we did was deliver the iPad application. We delivered the iPad application, though, without any integration. So we literally got a file to start with. We then, as a second step, automated all of that lot, but we delivered something digital into the airport that got people excited. And and that really helped in terms of the buy-in and getting people excited about the digital journey that we're on. So after 90 days, the competency starts to become a centre of excellence. So now we have a centre of excellence where we're doing ongoing improvements to the digital process and also supporting some of the new initiatives as well. And we started to embed a method. Now, the method we used, I'd describe as managed agile. So it was small iterations, but in a controlled, planned, and organised way. We didn't use pure agile because that can often result in uncoordinated and not a desired result. So we combined the two, and we've now embedded that method after about 3 months of the program as the standard way for delivering digital solutions. And we started to measure and look at what we'd done, where we could improve it further, where we could enhance it more, so that we overall had a view on the extra steps that we could take to get more out of the digital platform. And make sure that the awareness keeps going. So don't stop the awareness. We did the 30-day campaign, and then we continued to do more and more with the business to make sure that it was always front of mind as one of the things that was critical for them to be considering. So that's the kind of journey that we've been on. It's been a bit of a roller coaster. It's been a lot of fun. It's been quite hard on occasions, but we've now got to the point where we have a digital strategy in place. We've done our first few steps into the digital water, and we're now starting to use that and extend all of that lot to deliver on our digital strategy. So that's the Alpha Card onboarding story. So at that point, I'd like to thank you for listening to me and hand it back to Paul.
Thanks, Darren. Much appreciated, and it's a very interesting story, I think, in the context of financial services industry and more broadly than that, and the competitive nature of that industry, and having to be more aligned to the needs and expectations of your customers, as I had mentioned earlier on. So appreciate you going through that. We do have, I think, a little bit of time, and I have seen some questions come in. So, Darren, if that's okay, I'll ask you a couple. The first question is around the stakeholder buy-in, and it's, how important was that to get the stakeholder buy-in early, and how did you manage to do that to make sure the program started and you acted at speed?
Oh, that was, in my in my opinion, was absolutely critical to the success of the project. It's one of the first things that you should focus on, because I sit on the exec team, and my role was really to convince the exec team that going down the digital route was the right thing to do. And the way that we did that was through the proof of concepts. There's one day we actually sat with the CEO and went through a demonstration with him and showed him how all of the various elements work together, and that immediately got his buy-in because he could start to see the benefits of it. So use prototyping, use proof of concepts, and spend the time with the key stakeholders to make sure that they're on the journey with you, because it's very hard to get any kind of traction or any kind of forward big progress unless you've got that kind of buy-in. So I think it's number one really on the list is make sure that everybody's aligned and all want to go in the same direction before you really kick it off properly.
That's great, and I think there's probably a lot of people on the line that would agree with that. The next question that I have, and probably the last one that I'll be able to ask, and thank you to those people on the line that have put questions through, and it's linked to what was just asked actually. How important is it to align your digital roadmap or your programs, in this case around onboarding and other projects and programs, to the strategic drivers of the business?
Again, I think it's very, very important, because there's no point in delivering something that isn't going to add value in the right places to the organisation. So I think it's critical. So we spent quite a bit of time looking at the strategy and picking out from all the ideas that we'd got, the ones that were the most important to deliver that strategy. It really helps in terms of the sequencing of everything and making sure that you're focusing on the things that are going to deliver the most benefit, are going to be the most customer focused, and are going to help grow the organisation and hopefully attract and retain more customers. So again, as with the previous question, I think it's critical, and as early as you can, make sure that you do that piece of work, because it's very easy to generate loads of good ideas. But if those good ideas don't add value in terms of revenue or cost reduction, then there's no point doing them. So I think aligning it with your overall business strategy and making sure that you focus on the things that deliver to that is extremely critical to the success. Because as the leadership team starts to see the benefits that you've described to them being realised, then it gets more and more traction, more and more support, and it's much easier to get things done. So I think it's a vital part of the early stages of any kind of digital approach, really.
That's great. Thanks, Darren. And again, I think everyone on the line can appreciate that. And I'm glad that Bizagi has been able to play some part in helping your business achieve some of your strategic goals. I would like to thank everyone on the line for the questions. We won't get a chance to go through all of them, unfortunately. We will try to reply to those via email or other forms. So to those that have asked questions, apologies we can't answer them today or ask them. We will get back to you as best we can. So I'd like to say thank you to those that have attended. We appreciate your attendance and hope that you found some good insight and value from what Darren has talked about. And also clearly thank you again, Darren, for sharing this story with us and sharing your journey. And it's great to see that you're seeing some success. For those who are interested, there are there's further information on Bizagi.com around either white papers, case studies, availability to download product and use that product and understand how Bizagi can help your own organizations. There are webinars on there, there are live demos and timings of those. So please take advantage of that and have a look at the website for more information. And that draws to an end our session today. Again, thank you for attending, and thank you, Darren, for presenting.